We are forged by war. We exist because we survived, because every step forward was taken over something left behind. Conflict shaped our bodies before it shaped our flags. It selected the fast and the ruthless. It rewarded those who struck first and endured longer. War is our inheritance. It follows us into every tool we build and every frontier we cross, and only the victors remain long enough to call it progress. War feels distant when it favors us. It becomes spectacle when we are on the winning side. It is easy to admire strength while standing in the open. Visibility feels safe when no one is hunting us. But are we truly safe up there? Imagine a single ant moving across the forest floor. Its world is measured in grains of soil, in chemical trails, and in shadows cast by leaves. It knows where it can walk. It knows where food has been found before. It survives because this knowledge is enough. Above it, the forest extends far beyond anything it can perceive. Footsteps shake the ground and shapes pass overhead. Forces exist that could end its path instantly. The ant does not announce itself. It does not try to be seen. It continues quietly because silence is part of its survival. The ant has understood something humanity still has not. It does not test the world by making noise. It does not signal itself to confirm it is alone. Its survival depends on discretion and invisibility. Silence functions as an adaptive strategy. From the ground, we lifted our eyes. From the horizon, we reached upward. Exploration has always been our answer to distance. When the forest ended, we crossed the plain. When the plain ended, we crossed the sea, and when the sea ended, we looked to the sky. Space became the next extension of this impulse, not as conquest at first, but as curiosity. Satellites, probes, and telescopes marked a slow expansion of perspective. We traced orbits and we mapped stars. We learned to see our world as one among many, a small, fragile sphere suspended in the dark. At this scale, the universe appeared vast and quiet, an invitation rather than a warning. Only later would we begin to ask what exploration means when it is no longer one-sided, when looking outward also means being seen. Yet beyond what we see and build, another absence emerges. The silence at the heart of the Fermi paradox. Statistically, the universe should be alive. Billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, planets forming everywhere, again and again. Time enough for civilizations to rise and leave traces. Yet when we look outward, we find nothing that answers back. No signals and no undeniable presence. This contradiction is the paradox. Not the absence of life, but the absence of evidence where abundance is expected. We explored this paradox in the previous video, and the conclusion was stark. Either the universe has always been silent, with humanity standing alone as an anomaly, or every civilization that reaches this stage eventually disappears before it can be heard. And yet this is not the most troubling void we face. Perhaps this conclusion is not the correct one. The silence may not mean that the universe was always empty, nor that all civilizations inevitably vanish, but that something in our reasoning remains incomplete. Let us assume for a moment that the universe is not empty, that beyond this apparent quiet, countless civilizations exist scattered across time and distance, unseen but real. From this assumption, a logic unfolds. In such a universe, survival becomes the primary concern of any civilization capable of reflection. Before morality, there is the simple necessity of continuing to exist. Any society that endures long enough must learn that existence is fragile, while extinction requires very little effort. From this understanding, a first truth quietly takes shape. The survival of a civilization is its highest priority. Every decision is measured against this single imperative. A second principle emerges just as inevitably. Civilizations do not remain static. They expand and transform, while the total amount of matter in the universe remains constant. Taken together, these two principles produce unavoidable consequences. Growth under constraint turns survival into competition. What one civilization acquires is unavailable to another. In such conditions, caution becomes rational. Visibility becomes a liability, and every unknown civilization represents a variable that cannot be safely ignored. Technological and temporal gaps distort any possibility of understanding. What one civilization considers communication may be incomprehensible to another. Signals could rely on senses or dimensions we cannot perceive. Time itself may not be shared. A conversation that lasts seconds for us could unfold over centuries for them. A reply might arrive long after its sender has vanished. There is no universal framework to verify intentions, no common language and no shared context. Any contact therefore rests on assumption. We infer motives from patterns we barely grasp, and some assumptions once acted upon cannot be undone. The galaxy can be imagined as a space already inhabited, not by empires in the open, but by observers who remain unseen. Each civilization learns sooner or later that survival depends on discretion. To exist is to be exposed, to be detected is to be evaluated, and to be evaluated is to invite a decision that may be irreversible. Silence, therefore, becomes rational, not as a moral stance, but as a strategy. To remain hidden is to delay confrontation. To stay quiet is to preserve uncertainty. At the scale of the cosmos, survival favors those who are never forced to explain themselves. Seen through the lens of game theory, the dark forest becomes a situation rather than a metaphor. A game unfolding over immense distances, played in sequence where information is always partial and never reliable. Each participant acts without knowing who else is present, what they are capable of, or how they perceive the game itself. There is no score to maximize and no territory to conquer. The only objective that matters is remaining alive. The constraints are unforgiving. Resources are limited. Reaction times stretch across years or centuries. Once an action is taken, it cannot be recalled or corrected. Within this framework, every civilization faces the same dilemma. To reveal itself is to expose its position and capabilities to unknown observers. To strike first is to eliminate a potential threat before it can act. To remain silent is to accept uncertainty and hope it is shared. None of these choices is safe. Inaction leaves risks unresolved. Preemptive action carries moral weight, but hesitation carries existential danger. In such a game, trust has no mechanism to form. Restraint offers no guarantee, and rational behavior converges toward caution and preemptive fear. The dark forest emerges not from malice, but from rational actors navigating a universe where information is scarce, and time allows no second chances. Once again, imagine the ant crossing the forest floor. It follows familiar traces, unaware of the vast structures above it or the distant forces that could end its path without notice. It moves forward without mapping the whole forest, guided only by what has kept it alive so far. The ant survives by remaining small, quiet, and attentive to traces it barely understands, while we have learned to act loudly before learning how little we know. Within this game, Earth is not an exception. It is a late entrant, young, noisy, and still uncertain of the board it has stepped onto. Our technologies have given us a voice long before they have given us perspective. Long before we debated whether to speak, we were already heard. Radio waves escaped our atmosphere, and artificial signatures altered the sky around our planet. Whatever we choose now cannot erase what has already traveled beyond us. The question is no longer whether to announce our presence, but whether someone else has already noticed it. Earth, therefore, plays as a maladroit participant. We apply human intuitions to a problem that is no longer human in scale. We assume dialogue where the structure of the game offers none. We look for reciprocity in an environment that does not reward it. Our first moves were made without a clear understanding of the board. Signals were sent without knowing who might receive them. Traces were left without knowing how they would be interpreted. In a game where a single mistake cannot be corrected, learning the rules while playing is itself a risk. The danger is not that we choose poorly, but that we choose before we fully understand what choosing means. Other civilizations are not frozen in place waiting to be discovered. They are acting, observing, and adjusting just as we are. Silence does not mean inaction. It means that their moves are invisible to us. Some players have been on the board far longer than we have. They have learned which signals attract attention, which patterns reveal weakness, and which actions invite retaliation. Their silence is not ignorance, it is experience. From everything we understand about this environment, discovery leaves little room for neutrality. When one civilization becomes aware of another, the logic of survival narrows the available options. Either it remains hidden, preserving uncertainty, or it acts first to remove a potential future threat. The safest option for any species may be elimination rather than trust. In an environment where intentions cannot be verified and mistakes cannot be corrected, preemptive destruction becomes a rational defense. If the forest is filled with hunters, it follows that some will eventually choose to fire. From that perspective, two possibilities follow. Other civilizations may already have detected us and chosen silence in return, judging our noise as a sign of predatory potential best avoided. Or a civilization may have concluded that our emergence represents an unacceptable risk, and a response may already be underway, unfolding beyond our perception and beyond our timescale. A sufficiently advanced civilization would not need dialogue or proximity to end a threat. It could destabilize a star until it tears itself apart, drive a planet through itself with matter compressed beyond any familiar density, or collapse an entire system into a controlled singularity. We cannot know what tools millennia of development place within reach. By comparison, our own power amounts to crude force, limited almost entirely to large bombs whose effectiveness assumes proximity, and an enemy operating on scales comparable to our own. For the first time in history, the usual logic of victory may not apply. Humanity may be loud and expanding, yet almost certainly not the strongest player on the board. dark forest may not be a feature of the universe itself, but of the way intelligent life has learned to survive within it. Our reading of silence is shaped by a long history of conflict and domination. We approach the cosmos with instincts forged on battlefields and borders, interpreting the unknown through patterns that once kept us alive. For most of our history, what we could not see represented danger. What moved without announcing itself was assumed hostile. Caution and preemptive fear were not philosophical choices, but practical adaptations. When we look into the universe and find no reply, it is these instincts that rush to fill the gap. Even the axioms of survival we rely on are not neutral. They reflect a worldview shaped by competition and zero-sum outcomes. Growth and dominance are treated as universal laws, yet they mirror the economic and historical conditions under which our own societies developed. What we describe as cosmic inevitabilities may in fact be abstractions of a deeply human logic projected onto the universe. In this sense, the dark forest may be as much a projection as a discovery, a framework imposed by minds that evolved under pressure, mapping familiar threats onto an unfamiliar scale. The silence becomes ominous not only because of what it might hide, but because of what we expect to find. If the forest appears dark, it may be because we have not yet learned how to walk through it without reaching for weapons or calling out to be answered. The question, then, is not only what waits beyond the silence, but what kind of presence we choose to become within it.